Greetings, this is the Iron Blog, Industry Rules of Networking. In this particular section or episode or blog, I'm going to discuss the rise of Ironworkers Guild. Okay. Ironworkers Guild was a collective that was put together in 2007, 2008 that consisted of a group of hip-hop recording artists from Muncie and a group of hip-hop recording artists from LaPorte, Indiana. Two different cities in Indiana, a tale of two cities. Now, the leader of the Muncie faction of I.W.G was myself, and it consisted of Science Born, a man called Relic, Stone Messiah, c-rayz. The LaPorte faction of Ironworkers Guild, also known as I.W.G, was led by a producer slash MC named Wooden Chains, and it consisted of The Problem, Big Pipe, and Shake C. The connection, the bond, the link between these two factions was Science Born, who introduced me to Wooden Chains. Now, the thing that these two factions had in common was a particular vibe, I would say, I guess. But as time went by, we started to notice some differences. There are always differences in groups. But this is the rise of I.W.G. It's going to be a two-part blog. The fall of I.W.G. will basically break down and analyze the conflicts and issues in the group. But I'm just breaking down the members of the group to let you know that there was already a divide. We were a combination of two different groups. One was called Lake Effect, and the other group ended up being called Hollow Men, and which is a metaphor for being like unseen or underground or under the radar. Now, the vibe that we shared, or that we were into, as far as myself and Wooden Chains, the leaders of the two factions of I.W.G, was like a Wu-Tang type sound, not your average commercial top 40 radio sound. It's more of an eclectic, strange, dark type of vibe or sound that we both were fans of. So we hit it off, and you know, I had already had my collective basically consisted of a man called Relic is my brother, and Science Born was a longtime friend of mine, and Stone Messiah was somebody that was a friend of my brother's and around my brother's associates and stuff like that. And then c-rayz, I mentioned him before, was in a group called Cutthroats, which I was doing some touring with in Fort Wayne and a few other places, Marion, in the year prior to I.W.G being formed. Now, Ironworkers Guild was a name that I found on Wooden Chain's MySpace page. He said, I was looking through his profile or his bio on his MySpace page. This was the days of MySpace before Facebook blew up. And he had a little paragraph. He had a list of random names. One of them was hardly there in the missing persons. And one of them was Ironworkers Guild. And I said, what are you doing with that title there? Because we had just hit it off, and he came from LaPorte to Muncie and brought a bunch of beats, and I listened to him and I was like, wow, you know, you're really good, and I've been looking for something like this, and I ended up recording, doing 2 songs with him. One was called Suicide Angel, and the other one was called By the Hand of God. And these, I'll post these songs on the blog. And during this time, I was making a transition from the new hip hop movement, which is a collective of local Muncie artists that I had formed. And out of these Muncie artists, I started dealing with the Cutthroats and No Chills with them. And I ended up working closely with c-rayz, and he ended up becoming a part of Ironworkers Guild. So we met up, me and Wooden Chains. We discussed a few things about hip hop. He was a big fan of Holocaust, and you know, so was I. So you know, he said Holocaust was his favorite rapper, and he told me he had a group of artists, and I started, you know, we ended up connecting and doing a few shows together. And this was, you know, around about the time I had caught wind of someone named M80. There's a poster. Oh, wrong way, over there. I'm looking at a mirror image of myself, that's why I pointed the wrong way. That's the time when I actually invited this individual to come to Muncie and perform, because he was touring as an artist. He's actually, first time I ever heard of this individual named M80 right here. One thing that I used to do for networking purposes is, you know, you go to Reverb Nation or CD Baby or any of these websites where people post their music, and you do a search and you put Indiana and hip hop and see who pops up. And depending on which city you're interested in, you know, you can check out some new music and maybe get in contact. Well, I found out that there was this guy named M80 in Indianapolis, I think was the location on the website, and I heard some of the music, and I wasn't really impressed by it. You know, it's just, you know, it's always impressive to see someone actually making an effort to release music, but as far as the content itself, I'm not so much picky, but I have a high bar for, no pun intended, for bars. So if I'm listening for the cadence, and the flow, and the voice, and all these elements, and if you sound like a goofball when you're rapping, I'm not really into it, you know. So there's a few different things that turned me off by his particular brand of music, but one thing that really did catch my ear was he had a song with Killer Priest from Wu-Tang on one of these albums. And I mean, this album was just like, you know, basically run-of-the-mill throwaway underground, you know, like some basement tape. And so, you know, I started asking questions about him, and I found out, you know, I know a few people in Indianapolis, and they started telling me things about, you know, this guy had took the bar or went out to law school in California and whatnot, and he had or he was about to, and he had a show. He went to a show where Killer Priest and Dreddy Kruger of Wu-Tang were performing. Dreddy Kruger is actually a affiliate of Royal Fam and Sons of Man, some Wu-Tang affiliates. These are real underground, you know, affiliates of Wu-Tang, and basically he met him at the show. This M80 character met Killer Priest and Dreddy at the show, at the event they were having in Indy, and basically paid them a lump sum of money to come and record a song with him. And they ended up blossoming into a situation where Dreddy Kruger and M80, after he went to, as far as I know, when he went to law school in Cali and learned how to write music contracts, he and Dreddy Kruger formed a label called Think Differently Music. And one of their first signees was Bronze Nazareth, a producer from Detroit. So basically I'm laying out all this information to let you know what's going to happen further in this tale of the rise of I.W.G. So I had, this was around about 2007, 2008, when I saw on MySpace that this guy right here was having a birthday party with Killer Priest, right? And lo and behold, I didn't have transportation, and my brother did at the time, and I was trying to get a ride from him. He wasn't really feeling like going, even though it was Killer Priest, and he's a real big fan of Killer Priest. He really didn't give a fuck at that particular juncture. So lo and behold, the only one that was willing to drive, because I wanted to, even though I didn't have an ID, that was a bad thing too. I didn't have an ID, so I eventually I couldn't get in. But the only person that would drive was c-rayz. So we ended up driving up there, and M80 comes outside, and we talked briefly, and he said he had heard of me before, which was surprising to me, even though I've done a few things in Indianapolis as far as events and networked with artists and stuff like that. And that was that. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, this guy's affiliated with Wu-Tang. In my entire life, I have been told that I sound like, well, when I was in high school and I used to rap, everybody said I sounded like Wu-Tang. To me, it wasn't because I actually sounded like Wu-Tang. It was just that in Muncie, what everybody listened to was like Top Authority and Spice One and the Dayton Family and stuff like that. So if I came out and I wasn't talking about hitting switches and pimping bitches and blowing up the world, you know, no disrespect to people that make that kind of music. That's part of the tapestry of hip-hop. But, you know, I'm speaking on the prejudice that I face because of the fact that I didn't choose to rhyme in that particular style. So, I've been told most of my life that I sound like Wu-Tang anyway, so it seemed like a no-brainer. There's guys working with Wu-Tang people, so I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking that could be a good connection. But this happened before the whole I.W.G thing. But basically, when I connected with this producer that wouldn't change, that sounded like Wu-Tang, had beats that sounded like Wu-Tang, like True Master, Fourth Disciple type vibe, you know, kind of like rickety sampling and old dusted loops and dark creepy sounds and weird stuff. I put two and two together, and I was like, you know, I could form a group of artists. You know, he's got artists, I have artists. We can take that name Ironworkers Guild and we can turn this into like some big, you know, mob of artists, a network of artists, and we can pitch this to this M80 guy, and we might be able to get a, you know, like a deal with some, you know, with a Baby Grand Records or something, or, you know, end up, you know, connecting with some Wu-Tang artists or something, you know. So I kind of kept M80's number when I went up, when c-rayz took me up there to Indianapolis to his birthday party with Killer Priest. I didn't meet Killer Priest that night, but M80 came out and actually talked to me, which was cool. Some guy was there, wanted to interview him, some guy from Indianapolis for some online magazine or something. And we got to talking, and, you know, he was real cool, and, you know, I do my music thing. I might have gave him a CD. I always had CDs on hand at that time. I was consistently recording and releasing music. And, you know, that was that. But I stayed in touch with him, and he started in 2008, I believe. 2009, 2008, he started doing a series of events. I might have some flyers up here on the wall. Here's one of them. DOS Effects. He was involved with other promoters as well. It wasn't all him, but he had connections from networking in the business. And basically, he set up a, you know, a monthly or bi-monthly hip hop showcase or event, I would say, with a headliner at a place called Spin in Broad Ripple in Indianapolis. Spin nightclub. A lot of people listening to this might know what I'm talking about. And I ended up opening for, it all started out with Cannabis, which was just me. This is, you know, right on the threshold of the whole I.W.G thing. Then we did a show I did a show in Indy with Cannabis, and one in Muncie. And at the Muncie show, I invited Lake Effect, which is Wooden Chain's crew, to perform. And this is basically like the cauldron that I.W.G was forged in, you know, however you want to say it. We were molded in this situation. For me setting up these events and my connections to M80. Now, due to the fact that Wooden Chains was also a Wu-Tang fan, he was also very familiar with Bronze Nazareth. He was a big fan of Bronze Nazareth and Kevlar 7. God bless the dead to Kevlar 7. I consider him a close friend of mine, and he will be missed. But this is not to mean a disrespectful angle, but I have to engage this in order to explain the story in full. And this is a concept that I have been aware of for quite some time, and it's called we'll use a common mainstream term, which is starstruck. If you meet someone that you are a great fan of, a fanatic, sometimes you can be starstruck. You ever see the footage of Michael Jackson when he would perform on stage, and women would be crying, screaming, falling over, and fainting, and I used to see that when I was a kid. I was like, wow, that's a real powerful person to be able to do that to those people. Where there are fans of sports figures, and fans of rappers, and fans of singers, and fans of actors and actresses, or and there are fans of underground hip hoppers. When I first did the show, when I opened for Cannabis, when I connected with this fella right here and did the Cannabis show in Indy, I was absolutely shocked. I mean, he did hook up with Wyclef and had a short run, had a gold album and stuff like that, but I was just the group of people standing in line for his autograph. Like, it was astounding. And really, to be honest, what was unique about that, now that I look back at it, nothing really happened in Indiana like that. So I can't give this fella right here props. But as time went by, I saw where this fella's head was really going, which was not for the culture or for hip hop. It's basically a commodity. These underground artists, the Killer Priests and Cannabises, and I salute these guys. I have mad respect for them. But in the eyes of someone like this, they're just a commodity. They're just, it's like Swedish fish or something sitting on the shelf. It's like, let's see what I can get out of this. I can hike the price up, sell it, finder's fee, whatever. And it's just like, it's not for the actual culture. There's a term that was coined called culture vultures. And this isn't to diss any of these artists. I have mad respect for these guys, but some of these artists in their heyday were more popular than they are today. So that's where the vulture aspect of it comes from. It's like circling in the sky, trying to see what flesh you can pick off of somebody. And that's a lot of promoters do that. I hate to say, but this guy, multifaceted A&R, promoter, you name it, also thinks he's a great rapper too. That guy. He has the unmitigated gall and cojones to actually get up on stage during his set and rap Ghostface's legendary verses, or Killer Priest verse, or ODB, looking like a straight goofy, buck dancing off beat. Shimmy, shimmy, y'all, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. And, it is what it is. But anyway, let's get back to the starstruck thing. Starstruck. If you meet somebody that you, like, I don't know, like, if you're a big fan of Steph Curry. My son happens to be a big fan of Steph Curry. And I can only imagine if you met him in person, how he would react. He would probably be stunned and shocked, and his eyes would get big, and he would probably, when he walked away, you'd probably want to follow him. And it's the aura that someone gives off that you have so much respect for and adoration for, that, but he's a child, he's a young man, so I can understand that. Now, one thing that I can't seem to wrap my head around is when grown-ass men behave like this, and it happens. And it's for people that are mildly famous sometimes. It's just, and I can understand. Like I said, I have utmost respect for underground hip hop artists, legendary hip hop artists. Wu-Tang, one of my favorite collectives of all time. To me, the only thing comparable to Wu-Tang is the Juice Crew. To me, Wu-Tang was like the second coming of Juice Crew. You know, a bunch of powerhouses, lyrical, all in one place, and it's just crazy. But Wu-Tang took it to the next level. Let's be honest. But, you know, I can't help but think, when I started seeing the true character of this person right here, I mean, it was kind of disgusting to see people that had this mysterious aura of power and intelligence and influence being, I don't want to say manipulated, but even doing business with somebody that your average person, in just general interaction and conversation, would consider a corny ass motherfucker, a cornball, a goof, or goofy, as they say in the shop. But you know, that's neither here nor there. Let's continue on this journey. The starstruck aspect of it, when I started connecting myself with the help of this guy to shows, and some of that involved ticket buy-ins, which I had never done before. But for the cannabis show, I actually sold all of my tickets. And, you know, as time went by, it seemed like it was a, you know, pay-to-play situation. And there was another promoter, actually, that's a good friend of mine, that created a buffer between me and M80 and kind of looked out for me sometimes in terms of, you know, letting him know that we had talent. Me and the I.W.G, we had talent. So, you know, to give us a shot instead of always every single time having to pay. We did do a few ticket buy-ins, but there was a couple times, and then we ended up working with that other promoter when M80 stopped doing events at Spin. But two shows that I worked with M83, actually, I brought him down to Muncie, and I did a show with him in Fort Wayne, so that's 4 shows. But the 2 Muncie shows that had headliners were Cannabis in 2008 and Timbo King in 2009. And Timbo King's a member of Royal Fam and is a Wu-Tang affiliate. And, you know, Wooden Chains, and not everyone in Lake Effect, Wooden Chains crew, was a big Wu-Tang, you know, aficionado or fan. Because I recall when we finally ended up connecting, well, put it this way, we did a show at Spin. I don't have the flyer on the wall, but we ended up doing a show with Wiseman, which is God Bless the Dead, Kevlar 7, and Bronze Nazareth, and Philly, and June, Megalodon, and Beast was in the group at the time, and Illa Days. And, you know, they're a very dynamic hip-hop collective out of Detroit by way of Grand Rapids. And we ended up connecting with them, and instantly it was like family. So, you know, the I.W.G bond between I.W.G and Wiseman was great at one point in time. And I'll put a video up of our show that we did at Spin. I did a little video beforehand that ended up getting put on Comcast digital cable on one of the channels there. There was this guy that had an indie show out of Lafayette. It was called Midwest Nights, and I had been networking with him, and I had he came up and recorded us, you know, interviewed us briefly before the show. See, the thing is, I was acting as a manager for this collective. I was, you know, you have this guy was a promoter / A&R. I was like the manager of my group, so I'm talking to him, trying to create opportunities for us so we can network and branch out and try to get, you know, a record deal or catch the eye or ear of someone that, you know, might be interested in helping us help us build a bigger platform for ourselves, I would say. So I'm behaving as a manager. So I will say personally that the whole starstruck thing, I'm not saying that I'm immune to it. I know if I met somebody, if I met RZA, I'd probably be starstruck for a little while, or KRS-One or someone of that. I've met a lot of legends, though. I met Grandmaster Caz, I met Kool Herc. I mean, that's, you can't get any higher than that. I met AZ, I met GZA from Wu-Tang, I've met, I'm good friends with people like c-rayz Walls. You know, I'm an associate or a you know, a acquaintance with other people that have been doing things. Beretta 9 from Kill Army. I've shared the stage with him. Actually, acted as his hype man, drunk one night in Indy. That was another M80. See, anything that happens in Indiana that has Wu-Tang on it or anything to do with Wu-Tang in Indiana or the Midwest, this guy sticks his fucking nose in it. Capadonna, you name it, boink, he's there. Even if he didn't bring him there, he can smell them when they're in town. He can smell their cologne, so he'll be there. But so anyway, we ended up meeting and connecting with Wiseman, and I noticed as time went by, and through discussions with the Ironworkers, because you got to realize, as I've said in the other blogs, I've been doing this for, not to say I'm a pro or superstar or anything, or better or worse than anybody else. It's just like I mentioned before in the blogs. It's the level of experience and know-how, knowing what to do and how the game goes. And through discussions with Ironworkers Guild, Wooden Chains, and The Problem, and Sheikh C and stuff. Like I said, not everybody in Lake Effect really felt Wu-Tang. I remember getting into a debate with Sheikh C in which Wooden Chains wouldn't stand up and defend Wu-Tang, even though he had told me Holocaust was his favorite. There were two instances. There were two instances that actually showed me a chink in his armor. And you know, I don't want to get into the fall of I.W.G. That's the second half. But I mean, I'm going to just graze across a few topics. As I said before, one of the things that integrity and dignity and all these things, these are moral things that exist outside the music business. They exist. It's even separate from the art. The art is just creativity, and the business is just numbers and money. But the integrity of a man and the dignity of a man, you know, if I'm talking to you and you say, you know, man, you know, Tiger Woods, man, you got Tiger Woods t-shirt on. Tiger Woods the greatest, man. He's the fucking greatest. Oh man, I love me some Tiger Woods, man. You know what? He's been through a lot, man, but you know what? Can't nobody get with Tiger Woods, man, you know. And then somebody that you have respect for, or somebody that you aren't willing to challenge, says, man, fuck Tiger Woods, man. Tiger Woods ain't shit, man. What you mean, Tiger? Man, that old weak. Oh, he did this and he did that. And then the original guy, the guy that was all about Tiger Woods, would be like, hey, yeah, you know what? He's really not that good. That shows that you don't have integrity. It shows that you're spineless, and your opinion can be swayed depending on who's in front of you. And that's not a good quality to have if you're rolling with a squad. You want the squad to be for one common cause. See, Ironworkers Guild, I.W.G. was like a workers union. You understand? So that's what I was trying to create. I was trying to create a like a crew that was standing up for the underground artists, like the underdog that had been thoroughly shitted upon previously, because everybody that was doing shows or events, they were all about star power, and we'll see what big star I can stand next to, or do a ticket buy-in to stand next to, you know, and act like, you know, I'm a big shot because I'm opening for somebody. And we were like, we'll engage in the ticket buy-ins and the fanfare and the hoopla, but also we have talent, and we're trying to create a bigger platform for ourselves. And eventually you realize that people like this, the opportunities that they're actually organizing and setting up are opportunities to line their own pockets, and not opportunities to make you seen or to push you forward or to nurture the local scene. They don't give a fuck about you or your talent or anything you stand for or your mama. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. It's at the end of the day, you have to make your own opportunities. But you know, it is great to have people like this that through their networking can have situations like that jump off, because you know some of those occasions that we where we open for people like Cannabis and Killer Priest and stuff, those are great events. You know, that's the rise of I.W.G. We toured, we opened for Doodlebug of Diggable Planets, is a Grammy award-winning hip hop group. We opened for Timbo King, Cannabis. We did a few local shows. You know, we were excited that we were around these people. Bronze Nazareth. We ended up connecting with Bronze and going to Detroit and recording. But about the whole Starstruck thing. See, I'm trying to avoid it because I don't want to. I kind of delved into it a little bit, but you know, it's like you gotta, if you believe in something, you gotta stand next to it. So if I say Holocaust of Wu-Tang is the greatest fucking rapper that's ever touched the fucking microphone, I'm gonna stand by that. Now, I don't think he's the greatest, but if you think he's the greatest and you're rolling with me, I'm going to expect you to stand up. If you've been telling me ever since I've known you that he's the greatest, I'm going to expect you to stand by it, no matter who's in the room. Now, there happen to be certain people in the room that didn't agree with this perspective, and all of a sudden Wooden Chains' whole opinion started transforming before my eyes. So I was like, that's peculiar. Oh well, you know, whatever. But you know, these things, I make mental notes and these things stick in my mind because it's the character I'm looking at, the character of a person. Somebody looking at this might be like, oh, that's not a big deal. You know, people can say, no, but that's not how I get down. I look at the character of the person, and I pay very closely to the statements people make, and I pay very closely to their actions and how they behave in certain situations, because that lets me know where their heart's at. So another particular thing is when we went to not Indianapolis but Detroit to work with Bronze, when we were, you know, we ended up doing a show with them at Spin, and Bronze invited us, Wiseman did, to record in their studio Black Day in July in Detroit. We were ecstatic about that, you know, because it's, you know, a legendary event for us. And we were waiting in the parking garage in Detroit to meet up with Bronze. And Kevlar, God bless the dead, pulled up with Illa Days. You know, I got a lot of love and respect for those guys. And we were in the middle of the argument where Shake C, one of the members of Lake Effect, one of Wooden Chains boys, was basically saying that the RZA was pretty much, he said that the RZA was whack, pretty much is what he said. So I'm not really somebody who's going to readily jump up to defend, you know, somebody that I don't know like that in that situation. You're entitled to your opinion. But what I'm trying to do is, since I disagreed with that the RZA is whack as an artist, I started naming off songs and reciting lyrics and talking about beats, and he produced this for Biggie, and he did this, he created Wu-Tang, and there's no group's been like Wu-Tang, and he orchestrated this, and he's doing movies, and he's this and that. I don't even know if he's directing movies back then, but I think he was doing soundtracks. And I look to Wooden Chains, and Wooden Chains is like, man, hold up, man. I thought you said Holocaust was your favorite. I thought you said one of your inspirations was RZA, man. Like, what? Hell, nothing to say. So it's like, you know, when you get around people like that, even little telltale signs like that let you know someone's character. It's a weakness in your character. You know, that you can't, if you're with somebody, that's somebody, for instance, that's somebody that you'll go out, and I'm not on no crime shit, but you know, somebody that you'll go out and do dirt with, and then when y'all get caught, that'll be the person that'll be like, oh, I had nothing to do with it, man, you know, it was all him, you know. That's just, it's the same type of character flaw. It's like a moral hernia, you understand, is what it is. So and you can read these things even from something as simple as opinions about things, because it's not really so much their opinion that I'm talking about. You're entitled to your opinion, but when your opinion shifts depending on who's around you, that shows a weakness of character, right? So these are one of the things I noticed. Another thing I noticed before that was, you know, being starstruck. It's like if you have a plan going into a situation, and you're in a squad that's trying to make a revolutionary impact, I did my best to present what my plan was and to ask and discuss the plan and have meetings. I scheduled meetings. I went as far as to make copies of a seminar I got from disc makers that was talking about the music industry, just to educate, put some fat on people's heads, you know, members of the group. I did printouts. I discussed what my plan was. You know, I wanted to do a mixtape, March of the Martyrs, which we ended up doing. I wanted to do an album called Behind the Iron Curtain, which we ended up doing. And I wanted to do a second album called The Work Ethic. And then I wanted to do a production compilation with Wooden Chains producing all the beats and I.W.G mixed with a bunch of Wu-Tang guest features called Chain Link Fences. And that's what the plan was. That ended up, we only got halfway there before the group disintegrated. And I'm not going to say that I didn't have a hand in that, because, you know, I'm not a flawless person. And I do sometimes, I say things that I regret when I talk to people. So I think I could have maybe been a better leader and articulated my opinions in a better manner than I did. So I'll just get that out there, because, you know, I don't hold ill will towards many people. I guess you could say I hold grudges against people, but, you know, I don't hold ill will towards people about things that I've moved past. Now, the aspect of the character that I disagree with, I still hold those. I still hold that opinion when it comes to evaluating someone's character. But, you know, people grow, and I haven't talked to these guys in years, so I'm sure, you know, we all have situations we go through, and we end up, you know, growing up as people and learning to do better. I know at least a few of them probably have, and a few of them haven't, that I know for certain haven't. Well, I won't say for certain, but I don't know. So basically, the starstruck thing. If you go into a situation with a plan, and you meet, and your plan is, when you start interacting with these people of a higher stature than yourself in the music industry, you want to make sure that you are creating opportunities for yourself, you know. And sometimes, if you surround yourself with the wrong people when you get into this situation, when you start rubbing elbows and getting around these people, see, the way to play it cool is, if you truly believe in your own talent, you're going to look at them as a peer. You're going to look at them as an elder and have respect for them as an elder or someone that's made it there before you. But if they're embracing you like a brother, then that means you're on equal ground. So all that starstruck shit should go right out the window. It should fly right out the fucking window. But I did sense a lot of, and you know, another thing is that, you know, I had been doing this for 10 years before I met these guys, and as far as I know, Lake Effect had only done 1 or 2 shows. I think Shake C had done some shows. He's from Louisville, and he had something going on, a record deal back in the day and stuff, and he had prior experience. But most of these guys, Wooden Chains, The Problem, Big Pipe, these guys hadn't done, I think, maybe 1 or 2 shows ever. And, you know, I had 10 years of experience on them. And, you know, I may have, you know, came across a little arrogant, you know, in my presentation at times, but I meant well for the group, and I saw the vision of what could happen with the group if we played our cards right. But sometimes it's hard to navigate around your own ego and around others' egos. And to me, I think that, you know, there are situations where you're entitled to a little bit of arrogance. If you're the one pulling the strings and pushing the levers to make this boat float, if you're the one setting up, if you're reaching out to people to network and establish connections and setting up contacts and setting up studio sessions and facilitating an opportunity to get around some of these guys, the c-rayz walls and the Killer Priests and the Bronze Nazareth, you know, you're trying to create opportunities for yourself, and you want the respect of these people for them to look at you as a peer. And, you know, almost out the gate, they co-signed our talent, and our ability and our drive. And I never presented myself as, hey, I'm the manager of this thing. I'm the brain of this thing. If you ever see me in I.W.G promo materials, I had a mask on. I wore a black hockey mask. You know, sometimes. I was in the background. I presented myself as just the rapper, another rapper in the squad. But I was the one making the phone calls, the emails, setting up the contacts, getting the tickets for the ticket buy-in, everything, setting up all the plans. So I feel even if I behave with a little bit of arrogance, that I'm entitled to just a little bit of arrogance. Because if I'm doing a lot of work to push this thing forward, then I think I should be able to call shots. And once I've already proven myself, and we're on stage in Michigan somewhere doing shows with somebody that we were just listening to their CD a matter of a year ago, and in awe, basking in the awe and glory of their talent. Now we're on stage with these guys. We're hanging out with these guys, you know, and I busted my ass to make that happen, you know. And it's like, it seemed to me that once it got to a certain point, everyone, the group started, you know, the starstruck aspect of it, it made the plan not matter anymore. Why does this plan, what's up with this plan? I just don't understand it. I don't, but what's the end game here? What are we, you know? And, you know, everybody starts having their own agendas. And some people come into it with their own agendas. They start saying, hey, the reason why these guys are working with me is not because somebody created all these great opportunities to get my talent heard. See, I believe these guys had talent to begin with. Wooden Chains. I believe Wooden Chains was a great producer to begin with. That's the reason why I felt that, you know, us as a group would be appealing to an audience that was used to listening to Wu-Tang. So if we start connecting with and working with these people and become their peers and get on their level, it's only better for us. But, you know, as time goes by, people stop seeing the importance of a plan, and it's just a matter of who you're rubbing elbows with. You know, the whole I.W.G thing didn't matter anymore. It was just like, I'm working with this guy. But, so I won't delve too, I guess I did get a little bit into the fall of I.W.G, didn't I? But, you know, as far as the rise goes, we did a lot of great things. I know what I'll address for the fall of I.W.G. I'm pretty much freestyling all this. But for the fall of I.W.G, I'll address Muncie Music Fest, because that was kind of like a turning point for us as a group, and I'll talk about that in the next section. But just know that, you know, Ironworkers Guild as a team, I think it made a tremendous impact. I think that this guy right here, M80, as much as a fuckboy as he is, he did create opportunities for us by, you know, bringing some of these artists that hadn't been in Indiana before. You know, the Das Effects and the Black Sheeps, and, you know, the Cannabis Keith Murray, you know, in Indy. That, you know, I'm sure a lot of big names like that and underground names have been in Indy before, but it was just like a series of these things, and we were all right up in the mix. But everybody we connected with, there's another thing too. The encounter with M80 in Detroit. Yes, the one where he told me that I wouldn't be breathing the same air as all these guys if it wasn't for him. And that, you know, see, that's when the ego and the arrogance starts coming out. You know, see, the thing about Merc Versus and the thing about my associates and my cohorts and compadres is that our power is not in where we're from. Our power is not in who we're standing next to. Our power is not in the people that we know that have money and how much money they can throw at us. Our power is in our talent. If you hand me a microphone and put on a beat, can I say something that's going to make you be like, damn? If so, all right, salute me. All right? If my boy can do the same, salute him. If we're all together and all of us can do that, well, that's a pretty goddamn nifty thing, don't you think? 7, 8 guys on stage, male or female, whoever it may be, a crew of motherfuckers that can all spit, that are all talented. This guy can make beats and that guy can build websites, but they're all ill spitters. Like, that's what the game's about. What happened to the music, B? You know, I mean, there's so many people I know that were even members of I.W.G. c-rayz, for example. You know, he took up the craft, the art of video making, and he ended up in a haphazard way connecting with this guy. And it started, instead of it being about music, it's about, look, I'm standing next to Killer Mike. Look, I'm standing next to Jizza. Look, I'm in California and I just met Crooked Eye. I mean, it stopped being about you and your talent. What are you bringing to the table? Opportunities to bring your music forward. It's, hey, look, I'm eating cake with Busy Bone at some restaurant. It's like, you know, and that whole celebrity thing, I think, is what's wrong with the game. I mean, underground hip hop wasn't, you know, the underground and above ground. There's no separation anymore. These are old school terms that I'm using. I'm just used to using them. But it's all about the talent. It's all about the talent. Can you make Crooked Eye? Not without paying him, without doing a favor for him, without doing a video for him, without your boy booking him a show. Can you meet Crooked Eye in a fucking truck stop bathroom and spit a 16-bar verse that'll make his fucking eyes twirl? Can you do that? If you can, salute you, because that's what the game's about. That's what the game's about. People add steroids to the game nowadays. It's all about who you know or what you're doing for somebody. And the substance of what this is all about, what this all revolves around, the talent and the music, gets lost. So now you're looking at a game where it's like, you know, people talk about, if you look at any videos on YouTube about music, who's fucking who's beefing with who just bought a new car, what new fashion designer, what new sneaker line they got out, what new slang term is popping, you know, who insulted who on what blog, who's getting arrested, who's dating who. What about the music, B? I think that's enough for this one, but I can get a little more in depth in the future. Part 2 coming up. I.W.G. The fall of I.W.G. Once again, I will say Ironworkers Guild I.W.G. was a great collective, and we had potential to do some very big things. But when you're dealing with an A&R that says, I can get you signed to Baby Grand, but only if you pay me $5,000, it kind of gives you like sour grapes kind of feeling of the game. It's like, damn, I thought this was about ill beats and great raps, but it's really about a bunch of fuckery and bullshit, bumbleclap bullshit.